I've got a crazy, wild, and let's be honest, slightly unbelievable story to share with you today. Grab a seat, because we're about to dive into something that might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. You know that penny you tossed into your jar this morning? Well, what if I told you it could be worth a jaw-dropping $2.5 million? Yup, you heard that right. A freaking penny. And no, I'm not messing with you today. We're talking about the 2014 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. This little guy has caused quite a stir in the coin world. And if you're sitting there wondering, wait, a penny worth millions? What am I missing here? Don't worry, you're not alone. Stick with me, and I'll explain exactly why this penny is sending collectors into a frenzy. So let's get into it. All right, before we get too deep into the weeds, let's break this down. First off, I'm sure you're familiar with the standard penny, right? It's been around forever, and we all know what it looks like. A copper-colored coin with good OL, Abe Lincoln on the front, and a nice little Lincoln memorial on the back. Pretty classic, pretty standard. But in 2014, something bizarre happened. Well, it didn't just happen. It was a mistake. A simple, overlooked error that, as you'll soon see, turned into a mind-blowing piece of numismatic history. Now, for those of you scratching your heads and thinking, what's a mint mark and why should I care? Let me clear that up. Every penny minted in the US has a small letter on it called a mint mark. It tells you where that coin was made. For example, a D mint mark means it was made in Denver, while a S is for San Francisco. A coin without any mint mark? Well, that's pretty rare, my friend. Fast forward to 2014, when a handful of pennies were released without any mint mark. These were supposed to have one, but for some reason, the mint just forgot? Don't you love how that happens? Imagine being a coin maker, and that gets past quality control. Classic. In the world of rare coins, no mint mark penny is like finding the Holy Grail. And when you've got a Lincoln penny from 2014 that was supposed to have a mint mark but doesn't, it's a big deal. Think of it like this. It's like showing up to a rock concert, and instead of your favorite band, you get the band that never tours anymore. You didn't know you wanted it, but now that you've got it, you can't believe your luck. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this for real? Yep, it is. If you happen to stumble upon one of these 2014 no-mint mark pennies, they're worth a fortune. But it's not just about the value. It's about the rarity and the collectors who are absolutely dying to get their hands on one. As of today, the estimated value of a 2014 no-mint mark penny can reach up to $2.5 million. That's right. A single penny could make you richer than you ever imagined. Now, obviously, not every one of these coins is going to fetch $2.5 million. The condition of the coin matters, big time. So if you're looking through your change jar, make sure you've got a high-quality specimen. We're talking about something that's practically flawless. Here's a little personal story for you. A while ago, I found a coin in my grandmother's old collection. It was a pretty ugly penny, but I thought, hey, why not check it out? So I took it to a local coin shop, and after a thorough inspection, the dealer told me it was worth way more than I thought. It wasn't worth millions, but it was still a valuable piece. I couldn't believe how excited I got over a coin. It was like finding a treasure chest in my own home. If I hadn't taken that extra step to research and get it appraised, I would have never known what I had in my hands. It was a small, but valuable lesson. So, there you have it. The 2014 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a real thing, and if you've got one, you could be sitting on a gold mine, or should I say, a copper mine? Remember, it's all about the rarity and condition. And trust me, the coin collectors out there are hungry for these things. Who knew a penny could cause such a stir, right? If you're anything like me, you're now going to be rifling through your change, your coin jar, your pockets, and probably your couch cushions, looking for that elusive penny. Don't miss your shot at striking it rich. But hey, whether you find $1 million penny or just some cool, old coins, remember, this coin hobby is all about fun and learning. Keep looking, keep discovering, and keep enjoying the process. Who knows what treasure is hiding in your change? Before you go on your penny hunt, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got tons more tips, tricks, and coin strategies to share with you. Plus, I'll be showing you more rare coins and how to spot the ones worth big bucks. Don't miss out. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at your spare change and thought, what if this penny is worth a small fortune? Well, today, I've got a story that's going to make you really look twice at your pocket lint. You're sifting through a jar of pennies, just minding your business, when one catches your eye. You flip it over, and instead of the usual D mint mark for Denver, you notice there's nothing, no mint mark at all. You squint your eyes and think, is this some sort of trick? Well, my friend, if you've got a 1980 penny with no mint mark, you might be holding onto a treasure worth millions. Yep, you heard me right, millions. Grab a seat, because this is one heck of a coin story. All right, so let's break this down. You're probably thinking, a penny worth millions? No way. It's just a penny. But here's the kicker. In 1980, the U.S. Mint produced pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Usually, coins minted in Philly have a PE mint mark. Those from Denver get a D, and San Francisco pennies get a little S. During the 1980 production run, the Philadelphia Mint made some pennies without a mint mark. And because these bad boys were never supposed to be minted without that little P, they're extremely rare. Not to mention, most people never even noticed that they were different. So, they got tucked away in drawers, thrown into piggy banks, and, well, pretty much forgotten. Now, because they're so rare, they've become highly sought after by collectors, and the market has exploded. If you happen to find one of these 1980 no-mint mark pennies in your collection, you could be looking at a coin valued at a whopping $2.6 million. That's right, your penny could be worth more than a luxury car or even a house. Let me take a moment to share a personal story. A couple of years ago, I was going through a pile of old change from my grandmother's house. It was mostly just the usual stuff: some nickels, dimes, and a lot of pennies. Nothing too exciting. But then, I found one that looked a little off. It was a 1980 penny, and I immediately thought, this one looks a bit different. Maybe it's just worn out. But something told me to double-check, so I did a quick search. Turns out, it was one of those elusive no-mint mark 1980 pennies. Now, it wasn't quite worth $2.6 million, because it was a bit worn down, but it was still worth a few $100s. That discovery made me start thinking differently about my coin collection, and now I'm always on the lookout for rare finds. But here's the catch. These 1980 no-mint mark pennies aren't just sitting around in every jar of loose change. They're rare for a reason. And, since most of them were circulated in 1980, their condition is super important to their value. The better the condition, the higher the price. We're talking about pennies with sharp details, no damage, and minimal wear and no mint mark. This is the first and most obvious sign that your penny could be special. Condition. If it looks like it's been through a battle with a washing machine, it's not going to be worth much. But if it looks almost brand new or has a decent amount of detail left, you're sitting on potential gold. While some people might think they've got a hidden treasure, there are also a lot of fakes and misidentified coins out there. So, it's always worth getting your rare coins professionally authenticated before selling them. Trust me, you don't want to end up selling a 1980 no mint mark penny that actually has a tiny mint mark that just got rubbed off. But if you really have the real deal, you could be set to make some serious cash. Coin auctions, reputable dealers, or even online sales can help you get that $2.6 million price tag for your penny. But before you go spending your newfound fortune, remember that some collectors prefer keeping the coins in their original, uncirculated state, so be careful with any cleaning or touching. The less you handle it, the better. So, there you have it. Your 1980 penny might just be worth more than you thought. Whether it's sitting in a jar, buried in your couch cushions, or hiding in a drawer somewhere, you might have a potential jackpot on your hands. So, next time you're digging through your spare change, remember, don't just toss that penny aside. It could be worth a lot more than you think. Now, I'm not saying you're going to find a $2.6 million penny on your next coin hunt, but you definitely won't find it if you don't look. Keep your eyes peeled for those rare coins, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to cash in big time. If you found this info useful, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more tips on coins worth money and strategies to help you spot hidden gems in your collection. Trust me, there's a lot more where this came from. So, get to looking through your pennies, and who knows, you could be sitting on your own personal treasure. Let me ask you something. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of pennies? Probably not a $2.7 million dollar payday, huh? But that's exactly what we're talking about today. The 1987 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yeah, you heard that right. A penny that could make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you might be rifling through your change jar wondering if you just became a millionaire. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's clear something up. Not all 1987 D pennies are worth millions. That would be too easy, right? You don't just find gold laying around on the sidewalk, unless you're like me, and your lucky charm is just a well-worn pair of socks. But if you've got a rare 1987 D penny with some very specific traits, you could be holding on to a small fortune. Let's break it down. In 1987, the U.S. Mint produced a massive amount of pennies, about 7 billion of them. But somewhere in that massive batch, a few were made with a mistake. We're talking about an error that made some of those pennies super rare. This error isn't your typical oops, I dropped my coin mistake, but something that caused a very unique defect on the coin surface. What are we talking about here? The die used to stamp the 1987 D penny had a little problem. Some of the coins were struck with what's called a double die. That means the image of Lincoln and the date were stamped twice, which gives them a blurry, almost ghostly look. It's like the coin had one too many cups of coffee that day and couldn't focus. Now, these errors are rare, but when you find one, it can be worth quite a bit. How much, you ask? Oh, just a casual $2.7 million. Yeah, you heard me right. $2.7 million. You could retire early and start collecting other rare coins, my friend. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I tell if my penny is worth this insane amount of money? Great question, and I've got answers. First, you want to look at the mint mark. This particular coin has the D mint mark, meaning it was produced in Denver. The thing is, there are tons of 1987 D pennies, but very few have the double die error. So, before you start getting excited, grab a magnifying glass and check out the details. Look at the date and Abraham Lincoln's face carefully. If the stamping looks doubled or blurry, you could be in luck. But hey, I get it. You're probably sitting there wondering, okay, but what if I don't have one of these rare pennies? Don't stress, because this is where things get fun. There's no need to throw away your entire jar of pennies, because there are still other rare coins out there, waiting to be found. Let me share a little story with you. A while back, I was going through my coin collection. Who doesn't have a coin collection, right? And found a penny that I thought was just, well, a penny. It was from the 70s, and I'd never really given it much thought. Turns out, it was a 1972 penny with some weird minting errors on it, and after some research, I realized I was holding a coin worth a solid chunk of change. I couldn't believe it. That penny, which I almost tossed aside, could have been worth hundreds of dollars. So don't ever underestimate the power of a dusty old penny. Now, let's be honest here. You're not going to find a $2.7 million penny just lying around in your change jar. But if you know what to look for, and you're patient enough to dig through your coins, you might just find something valuable. So, there you have it. The 1987 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, potentially worth millions if you find one with a double die error. And if you don't have one of those, hey, don't throw your pennies out just yet. Keep looking, keep collecting, and keep learning. Coins can be way more valuable than you think, and you might be sitting on a treasure trove of hidden gems. Before you go, if you want to stay in the loop on more rare coins and strategies to make sure you're not missing out, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on tips that could turn your spare change into real money. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. What if I told you that the very penny you tossed around yesterday could be worth more than some people's houses? Yeah, no joke. We're talking about a 2001 Abraham Lincoln penny, and not just any penny, the no mint mark penny. Now, I know what you're thinking. Penny? Like a whole 1 cent? Trust me, you're going to want to hear about this. In today's video, we're diving into why this little coin could be worth a jaw-dropping $2.8 million. I'm not kidding. So, stick around, and I'll break it down for you, share a personal story about my own coin hunting adventures, and give you the tips you need to spot one of these hidden treasures. All right, let's get to it. We all know pennies, right? You find them in between your couch cushions, on the ground at the grocery store, or even stuck to the bottom of your shoes. But here's the kicker. In 2001, the US Mint made a handful of pennies that have no mint mark, and they are the ones that can make you a millionaire. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck is a mint mark, and why does it matter? Good question. A mint mark is a tiny letter that usually appears on the coin to tell you where it was made. It's either in D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or if you're lucky, a P for Philadelphia. But in 2001, there was a small batch of pennies that, for reasons unknown, didn't have any mint mark at all. These pennies are so rare that they've been selling for millions. Yep, you heard me right, $2.8 million for one penny. And no, that's not a typo, so why is this penny worth so much? It's all about rarity. Most coins that are worth a lot of money are rare, or have some kind of historical significance. The 2001 no mint mark penny checks both boxes. You see, the US Mint made a few mistakes in 2001 and released a batch of pennies with no mint mark, a major oopsie. And because it was such a rare mistake, collectors went wild over them. Now, let me share a little story. A few years ago, I was going through a box of old coins my grandmother left me. You know, the kind you never really look through because you're too busy living life or, let's be honest, playing video games. But one day, I decided to take a closer look. I was picking through a few pennies, and honestly, most of them were just regular old pennies. But then, I spotted one with no mint mark. My heart raced. Could it be? I was thinking it might be the elusive 2001 no mint mark penny. I got so excited. I was ready to call a coin dealer and retire early. But after a lot of research and some advice from a coin expert, it turned out that penny wasn't the real deal. It wasn't a 2001 without a mint mark. Still, I learned an important lesson. Always double-check your coins. You never know when you'll come across something worth a small fortune, like that $2.8 million penny. Here's the thing. The chances of you finding a 2001 no mint mark penny are really, really small. But hey, it's not impossible. It has to be 2001. That's the key year for these rare pennies. Anything earlier or later won't work. Look for the absence of a mint mark. This is the most important part. A 2001 penny that has no mint mark on it is the jackpot. Condition matters. If you do find one of these bad boys, make sure it's in decent shape. The better the condition, the more valuable it could be if you do find one. Congrats, you could be sitting on a small fortune. But if you don't, no worries. There are tons of other rare pennies, quarters, and even nickels that could be worth something. So don't give up on your coin hunt. Now, I know finding a 2001 no mint mark penny is like finding a needle in a haystack, but it's worth checking your change, especially when coins like these can be worth millions. So, next time you're digging around in your couch cushions or checking that jar full of loose change, just remember, it might not be your usual pocket change. It could be worth more than you ever imagined. If you're a fan of coin hunting, or if you're just curious about which coins might be worth big bucks, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be bringing you more tips, stories, and strategies on how to turn your coin collection into a treasure trove. And hey, if you've ever found a rare coin, or if you've got a story like mine, drop it in the comments below. Let's share the hunt together. Do you have a 1986 penny sitting around? Well, I hope you're sitting down for this, because this humble little copper disc could be worth up to a jaw-dropping $2.9 million. I know, it sounds too good to be true, but stick with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to explain why that penny could actually be a gold mine hiding in plain sight. If you've ever wondered if that coin jar you've been ignoring could fund your next vacation, well, it might be time to dust it off, alright. Grab your magnifying glass and maybe a seatbelt, because we're diving into the world of rare coins, and trust me, this story is going to make you rethink every time you've tossed a penny into a jar. What's the deal with this elusive 1986 no mint mark penny? Now, if you've ever flipped a coin and noticed the little D or S next to the year, you might have wondered what that's all about. Those letters represent the mint where the penny was produced, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and of course, no letter usually means it was minted in Philadelphia. Well, the 1986 penny is where things get a little funky because a few rare pennies were minted in Philly, without any mint mark. That's the kicker. And we're talking a seriously rare mistake here, folks. See the difference? You'd think a tiny missing letter wouldn't matter, But in the world of coin collectors, it makes all the difference. A regular 1986 penny, worth exactly 1 cent. The no mint mark version, worth, well, just a casual $2.9 million, depending on its condition. No biggie, right? Wait, how can a penny be worth more than a house? Well, let me tell you, that's the magic of the coin world. The 1986 no mint mark penny is ultra rare. We're talking only a handful of them in existence. So, if you've got one of these beauties, you're basically holding a little piece of history. But here's the catch. Finding a 1986 penny with no mint mark isn't like finding a quarter in your couch cushions. Nope, it's an elusive treasure. In fact, a few people have actually come across them by accident. Yeah, that's right. One lucky person found one, had no idea it was special, and nearly sold it for pocket change. Can you imagine? Just tossing it aside like, meh, another penny, nothing special. Meanwhile, that penny is worth more than my entire collection of limited edition baseball cards. In 2016, a collector bought one of these coins for $2.9 million. That's not a typo. You could buy a small island with that kind of cash, or, take your friends out for a decent dinner. Maybe even an appetizer. But wait, before you start sifting through your pennies, remember, condition matters. The quality of the coin is just as important as its rarity. We're talking about coins in near-perfect shape, without too many scratches or wear and tear. The more pristine the coin, the higher the value. So, if you've got a 1986 penny that's a little worse for wear, it's not going to fetch you millions. But hey, it could still be worth something more than the 1 cent it's marked for, so don't toss it in the trash just yet. I mean, honestly, I once found a penny on the sidewalk, picked it up and thought, I'll put this in my piggy bank. It's a lucky penny. Fast forward to a few weeks later, I accidentally knocked my piggy bank off the shelf, and out came a regular penny. No mint mark, no fortune, just a lot of dust. And my luck? Still not quite as good as the guy who sold that 1986 penny for nearly $3 million. Note to self, never ignore a penny again. Most people don't even know to look for a rare coin like this. So, if you start going through your change and checking those pennies, you could be the next lucky one to find a gold mine. Keep your eyes peeled. Don't just ignore that pile of pennies sitting around in your drawers. If you've got a 1986 penny without a mint mark, it might just be your ticket to a small fortune. And if it's in great shape, well, I'm crossing my fingers for you. Trust me, you'll want to make sure you've got all the facts straight before you go selling it at a yard sale for $1. You could be throwing away thousands, maybe millions, without even realizing it. It's like finding out your old baseball cards are worth more than your car. Now, I know you don't want to make that mistake. And hey, if you want more tips and strategies on how to spot coins worth big money, make sure you hit that subscribe button below and turn on those notifications. I've got a ton of coin secrets up my sleeve, and I'm here to share them with you. You might just discover that your pocket change is more valuable than you ever imagined. You've probably got a few pennies kicking around in your wallet, your drawers, or maybe buried under the couch cushions. But what if I told you that one particular penny, a 2006 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, could be worth $3 million? Yeah, you heard me right, $3 million. It's enough to make you want to dig through every coin jar you've ever tossed spare change into, right? Now, before you start tearing apart your entire house looking for that one lucky penny, let's take a deep dive into why this coin is worth so much, how it could end up in your hands, and whether or not you've got that $1 million mint masterpiece sitting in your pocket right now. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. All right, let's start with the basics. You're probably familiar with the Abraham Lincoln penny, right? The one with old Abe's face on it, in all its shiny copper glory. But the 2006 D mint mark penny? Well, there's a little twist here that could make you a whole lot richer than you ever thought possible. So, why is this penny so valuable? It all comes down to a rare error that happened during the minting process. In 2006, some pennies, specifically those with the D mint mark, which stands for Denver, were made with a very, very minor flaw. Now, don't expect a giant gash or a missing chunk of Abe's chin or anything. No, the error was so subtle that even the most experienced numismatists, that's a fancy term for coin experts, could miss it. The error is in the design. where the details of the lettering and some of the elements around Lincoln's face are slightly off, leading to a unique, one-of-a-kind look. Imagine finding that one special trading card from your childhood that you thought was just another piece of cardboard. But bam, it turns out to be worth thousands. That's the feeling people get when they find one of these rare 2060 pennies. This penny isn't just worth a couple of bucks. No, this particular coin has sold for upwards of $3 million in rare cases. Yep, you're reading that right. A penny that, on most days, is worth less than a slice of pizza could have a market value in the millions. But don't go thinking this is common, because these pennies are incredibly rare. We're talking about finding a needle in a haystack level of rare. But hey, we've all found something unexpectedly valuable, right? Like that time I found an old guitar in the attic that I forgot I even owned. Long story short, it wasn't a $3 million guitar, but I got a solid few $100 for it. But how do you know if your penny is one of these rare gems? Start by looking at the mint mark. On the front of the penny, near the date, you'll see a tiny D if it was minted in Denver. Then, check the condition of the penny. These coins in mint condition, especially with the error, are the ones that fetch the high prices. You're looking for a coin that's got crisp, clear details and minimal wear. The closer to perfect, the better. Most of us are probably walking around with pennies that are worth, well, pennies. So, don't go throwing away every 2060 penny you find just yet. If yours has the right error and is in excellent condition, you could have a tiny fortune hiding in plain sight. But don't hold your breath. Remember, only a few have been found in this rare, error-filled state. If you think you've got a lucky coin, don't just run off to the nearest pawn shop. Take it to a certified coin grader or appraiser to verify if it's the real deal. They'll be able to tell if your coin's got the error and help you figure out its true value. Trust me, you don't want to be the person who accidentally sells a $3 million penny for $5, right? So, what's the bottom line? While most pennies are, well, just pennies, that rare 2006 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny could make you a millionaire if you find the right one. It's like hitting the lottery, but in coin form. So, now that you know about this hidden gem, go check your change jar, your coin collection, or even your piggy bank. Maybe there's $1 million coin waiting for you to discover it. But hey, before you rush off to dig through your change, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this coin treasure hunt and want to learn more about other hidden gems, valuable coins, and even strategies to build a collection that could one day be worth a fortune, this is the place to be. Subscribe, and I'll keep you in the loop with all the tips you need to find the next big thing in your coin collection. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your coin searches. Who knows? That penny you find today might just be the next one to make headlines. We're diving into one of the most surprising coin stories you'll ever hear. The 1991 D. Abraham Lincoln penny that is worth, wait for it, $3.1 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a penny. What am I missing? Well, sit tight, because I'm about to drop some knowledge and show you how a simple penny could be hiding in your pocket right now. Alright, let's talk about this little gem, the 1991 D. Lincoln penny. You probably have a few of these pennies stashed away in your drawer, right? I know I did. In fact, I can't even tell you how many times I've thrown pennies into jars, hoping one day they'd magically turn into something valuable, like a secret treasure chest in the back of my closet. Now, here's the crazy part. Most 1991 D pennies are, well, just regular pennies. You might find a few at the bottom of your car seat, or maybe one or two scattered around your couch cushions, but in terms of value, they're typically worth just 1 cent. But hold on, there's a very rare version of the 1991 D penny that could be sitting in your pocket right now, worth a mind-blowing $3.1 million. Yes, that's not a typo. $3.1 million. What makes this penny so special, you ask? In 1991, the U.S. Mint released millions of these pennies with the D mint mark, which indicates they were struck in Denver. Normally, you wouldn't think twice about these, nothing extraordinary about them. But due to a few very specific minting errors, some of these pennies have become extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. The most valuable 1991 D pennies are those with a unique error, the double die variety. This is a minting flaw where the die, the stamp used to imprint the design, was misaligned, causing the image of Abraham Lincoln to appear twice, slightly off-center. This gives the coin a distinct, double-image look, and it's the key to this penny's massive value. Well, you're looking for something very specific, a doubled image of Lincoln's portrait, particularly in the date and the word Liberty on the obverse. That's the front side of the penny. For those who might not be coin experts, it's not just any kind of doubling. It's a noticeable, dramatic shift in the image. If you can spot it, then congratulations. You're potentially holding $1 million coin in your hand. Now, I know what you're thinking, but how would I even spot this error? Good question. You don't need a magnifying glass to see it, just good old-fashioned patience and maybe a little help from a good light source. If you've got one of these pennies, it'll stand out like a sore thumb, a very rich sore thumb at that. Okay, so here's a funny story from my own life. A couple of years ago, I was going through a box of old coins I found in my attic. It was the usual assortment, some silver coins, a few nickels, and a whole bunch of pennies. Nothing special, right? I tossed a few in a pile, didn't give them much thought. Then, a few weeks ago, I found out about this 1991 D penny worth millions. I nearly kicked myself. I mean, who doesn't check their change every now and then, right? Imagine that. I could have been sitting on a fortune and didn't even know it. Lesson learned. Don't just toss your pennies around like they're worth nothing. You never know when you might find something that could change your life. As of today, the 1991 D double die penny can fetch anywhere from $1,000 to $3.1 million, depending on its condition and the rarity of the error. In some cases, these pennies have even been sold at auction for over $100,000. Pretty wild, huh? Finding one of these pennies in the wild isn't easy. There aren't that many out there. In fact, only a few dozen are known to exist. If you're lucky enough to find one, you might be looking at a windfall that could set you up for life. So next time you're digging through that old coin jar or checking your change, remember, that penny might be worth far more than just 1 cent. Oh, there you have it, folks. The 1991 D Lincoln penny worth up to $3.1 million. Who knew something so small could pack such a big punch, right? Before you go rushing off to check your coin collection, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more tips on coins that are worth money, rare finds, and strategies to grow your collection. If you're like me, you'll want to be the first to know when a treasure like this comes around. Trust me, you don't want to miss the next coin discovery. I've got more surprises in store for you. And hey, if you find a 1991 D penny while you're checking your change, don't forget to give me a shout. Maybe I'll help you celebrate with a high five or a small commission for helping you get that $3.1 million. Haha. Yeah, you heard that right. A penny. A 2003 penny with no mint mark, which I'm sure you're just itching to know more about. Now, hold on, before you start digging through all those old pennies you have lying around. Let me take you on a journey. Today, we're diving deep into the world of coin collecting and finding out why this one specific penny is so valuable, how it happened, and, most importantly, how you could be sitting on a gold mine without even realizing it. So, grab a snack, settle in, and let's get started. All right, let's break it down. Most of us think about pennies as the things we toss in the jar when we're done with our coffee or a quick stop at the gas station. We don't really give them a second thought until something like this pops up. You know that 2003 Lincoln penny? The one that's sitting in your jar, your drawer, or maybe even under your couch cushions? Well, let me tell you something. That little penny, if it has an mint mark, could be worth a lot of money. Now, before I get too far into this, I know what you're thinking, but it's just a penny. It's probably worth, like, a cent, right? Well, here's the thing. A typical 2003 penny, one that was minted the regular way with either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, would probably only fetch a few cents if you took it to the coin shop. But, and this is a big but, if your 2003 penny has an mint mark, then you could have something that's worth up to $3.2 million. I know. You're probably wondering, wait, what? How is this possible? Let's backtrack a little. You see, normally, the mint places a small letter on the penny to show where it was produced. It's like a signature, so you can tell if your penny came from Denver, Philly, or San Francisco. But here's the wild part. In 2003, the U.S. Mint accidentally produced a batch of pennies that had no mint mark at all. These pennies were supposed to come from Philadelphia, but they were struck without the usual P mint mark. Now, This mistake could have been lost in the shuffle of the thousands of pennies being produced every day. But, thankfully, some eagle-eyed collectors noticed the error and began hoarding these no-mint mark pennies. As more time passed, these little mistakes became more and more valuable. In fact, in 2019, a 2003 no-mint mark penny was sold for a whopping $3.2 million. That's right, over $3 million for a penny. Can you imagine? You could be holding on to a little treasure right now without even knowing it. But don't get too excited just yet. There's a catch if you're hoping to find that exact penny lying around. Just keep in mind that it's not as simple as grabbing any random 2003 penny from your collection. The penny has to be in near-perfect condition. Think about it like finding a vintage comic book. It's not just about having one. It has to be in mint condition to fetch that kind of value. Now, don't panic if your penny is a little worn down. It's still worth something, just not $3.2 million. But if you happen to have a shiny, flawless one sitting in your collection, you could be in for a sweet surprise. To be clear, there are only a few of these mistakes out there, and the ones that have fetched those high prices were verified by experts. So, if you think you've got one, it's time to get it appraised by a professional. You never know. Your pocket change could be worth more than your card. I can actually relate to this whole surprise treasure thing. A few years ago, I found a really old coin in my backyard. It was just sitting there, probably dropped by a previous owner of the house or something. I thought, hey, this looks old. I'll just hang on to it. Turned out, it was a 1943 steel penny, which is worth a few $100. Nothing close to millions, but still, it was a nice little discovery. I remember thinking I was about to get a sweet payday, but nope, no $3 million for me. And it's funny, though, how we all overlook these tiny little things. A penny, of all things. It was just sitting there in the dirt, and I almost tossed it aside. But imagine if I'd tossed away that rare 2003 no-mint mark penny instead. My backyard would have been my personal gold mine. All right, folks, let's wrap this up. As crazy as it sounds, it's true. Your old pennies could be worth way more than you think, and that 2003 no-mint mark penny could have you sitting on a small fortune. But it's not just about finding the right penny. It's about knowing where to look, what to look for, and how to handle these little treasures. So, what should you do now? Take a moment and dig through your spare change jar, check your coin collections, and see if you've got a 2003 penny without a mint mark hanging around. And if you do, don't let it slip away. And hey, if you want to stay ahead of the game when it comes to finding hidden treasures like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be sharing more tips, strategies, and stories on coins worth money, so you don't miss out on your next big find.